I'm joined this week by my Bridge Winners colleague and good friend, Gavin Wolpert. Nice to have you here, Gavin.
Thanks for having me, Adam. I've been listening to your pod for a while, and they're just great interviews. I'm hoping I can live up to what everybody else has done because there's been some amazing stuff in this series.
First question is always, how did you learn bridge?
So I come from a bridge family. My mom ran a bridge club when I was a kid, and when I was about 7, she did this whole kids program, a Saturday morning kids program, where my brother, myself, and a whole bunch of other kids learned. But I didn't really take to the game then. It was only about 4 or 5 years later that I fell into the game. I really didn't want to play bridge. I resented the game. My whole family played all the time and talked about it all the time at dinner. I hated it with a passion. But then I was at the San Diego Nationals in the early 90s, and I was caddying, and I was into a couple girls who were caddying, and they went to the caddy bridge tournament, and suddenly I was a bridge player. Yeah.
So how old were you when your mom ran that kids camp?
I was 7. I couldn't sit still at 7. I couldn't sit through a game of bridge. And I love games, and card games, but I just couldn't. It was too much attention span, which is interesting because when my 9-year-old was 7, now he could totally sit through a bridge game at 7. So I guess maybe I was a little impatient, and he's got more patience. Then and also my brother got really into it really quickly and got really good at it really quickly. And when you have an older sibling who's better than you at something and you don't see a path to being as good as them at it, there's something about that that's a little demoralizing. So that kind of pushed me away a little bit too.
Yeah, I get that for sure. And then you were 12 or 13 when you
It was just before my 12th birthday. Basically, like, I played the caddy tournament, but you don't understand how vocal I was to my family, to telling them I hate bridge. Stop talking about bridge. Like that's all I knew how to say. Like, just really, and that to somehow, like, I really enjoyed the caddy tournament. I won the caddy tournament, which was also like that was the jolt I needed, a little bit of competitiveness. And as I came back, ooh, I can do this. And it was hard for me to say to my mom, like, hey, Mom, can I go to the bridge club and play bridge one day? So yeah, that was a tough moment for me, and my mom was so happy.
had to eat a little crow.
Yeah.
So you were just being dragged along to bridge tournaments?
Yeah, caddying. I actually quite liked it. I enjoyed caddying. Back then, caddying was like a social scene because bridge players were a little bit younger. A lot of them had 12-year-old kids and 13-year-old kids, and so I would go to the Buffalo Regional, and I would make friends there, and I would be sad to leave. I was so happy. Like, it was a great time for me. So I wouldn't consider it drag. Like, I didn't hate it in that way. What I hated was the dinner conversation, the fact that all they ever talked about was bridge, or the fact that they were away playing bridge tournaments on the weekend and I had to fend for myself, like those little things. But I didn't hate going to the tournaments. I actually really looked forward to going to the tournaments.
So has that affected you as a parent? Like, did you make a conscious choice, you and Jenny, not to talk bridge at the table with the kids?
We don't have the same desire to talk bridge. It's our profession, and as opposed to my parents. Like, yes, my mom ran a bridge club, but it wasn't. She was still like a bridge fan, a passionate bridge player trying to get better. We're not at that stage. We haven't been at that stage with our family. We play bridge all day on our phones, on our computers from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. The last thing we want to talk about at the dinner table is bridge. Now it's actually the other way around. The kids bring up bridge a lot, and we're like, I don't want to talk about bridge anymore. We've been playing bridge all day. So it's roles reversed, but I'm still the one who doesn't want to talk about bridge. But I do it because they're into it, and it's awesome.
So have you seen this same evolution with your kids? Like, did they hate bridge or not want to learn bridge for a while? Because I know they're into it now. The boys,
No,
at
they
least.
they did not hate bridge because we weren't shoving it in their face. Like, it wasn't something that they always had to deal with. They didn't resent it. It presented opportunities to them. They got to go places and do cool things. Even just the fact that we could work remotely meant that we could go places like, hey, we want to go to Disney for the weekend. Let's go to Disney. It doesn't really affect us because we can kind of play bridge, sit down at a table somewhere and play an hour of bridge while everybody's going on rides or that kind of thing. So I think they've always appreciated the fact that we were bridge pros and not the other way around.
But sometimes it means their parents are gone for a couple weeks, right?
Well, it hasn't really meant that. At least for like the recent history, neither one of us is traveling a dramatic amount. Jenny pretty much went through a big stretch of only going to the nationals, and they would come with to the nationals. So it was only me going away, and even I set up a life pretty quickly down here where I didn't have to travel as much. Like, there's a lot of local bridge club work, and I've always had a thriving online business, and particularly since the pandemic, I've had very little need to go and leave and play tournaments other than to compete at high levels. Yeah.
So how into it are your boys?
It's funny. They're hit and miss. When they're at tournaments, they're super into it because they're with other kids kids. That's really what makes them be into the game, is the other kids. When they're home, it's a little less because they've got so much else on their plate.
So when they decided that they were kind of into it, like, how did you introduce it to them?
We introduced it to them through other games. Like, we just made them games players. We never forced or tried to get them to learn bridge, actually. It just that was never a part of our process. We've always, with our kids, played board games and played card games, and we challenged them quite early. We gave them more difficult games, certainly than the age requirements on the box. And so they just kept advancing and wanting to play more complicated games, so that when the opportunity came for them to play bridge, and it really credit to the ACBL and what they have at the nationals, that they have that program where there's a whole bunch of kids every summer nationals that are playing. That's where they got into it. They had a low barrier of entry game where they have a helper at every table, and they could sit down and feel like they could play. The big thing for most kids is just not to have their confidence crushed in the beginning. You know, when you put your kid into something and they're terrible at it, which everybody's terrible at bridge when they start, it's really hard for them to get into it. They feel like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm coming last. But it was a pretty good environment for them to like feel like, at least see that they're on par with the other kids in the room, and so that they didn't feel bad. And then it was a matter of them learning and watching. I don't know. I don't think we did anything special. We didn't force them into it. I know some bridge playing parents have the idea of like, I want to keep my kids as far away from bridge as possible. I don't want them becoming bridge bums. That was actually the mentality when I was young. My parents were always, don't become a bridge bum. Everybody at the bridge club, don't become a bridge bum. So some parents are actively trying to keep their kids away from bridge, which to me, as a bridge pro, just seems completely insane, because we love the game so much that we devoted our lives to it. And the idea of keeping that away from our kids and is just craziness. If they want to learn, I can understand not forcing them through. It's just if they want to, you know, if they, and my kids did want to.
Did they watch any of your content and learn?
Ryan got pretty into the Wednesday morning tournament. We were one time on a trip. It was very funny. Like I was like lying in bed, and he's in the bathroom, and he had his phone, and I suddenly hear mine and Rob's voices coming from the bathroom. It was just pretty funny. Yeah.
Does he think that's cool that his dad is like a bridge
But yeah,
celebrity?
they definitely think it's cool that I have like a lot of YouTube subscribers. That's what they brag to their friends about. Not that I'm a good bridge player, but my dad has a YouTube account. It's got like 5,000 subscribers or whatever it is. Like this, because they try to make their YouTube accounts. It's pretty cute, and they can't get like 10. Like they get their friends to subscribe, and that's it. They can't break that barrier. So they think, wow.
Have they gotten into bridge books? Do they like reading?
So yeah, my younger one, Ryan, loves reading bridge books. In fact, he chooses to read them before bed. He likes reading World Championships books. I think maybe because he recognizes the names, and he loved the book about Helgamo. Absolutely loved it, because the hands were, he just so cool. I'm amazed that he can follow hands in text and print, and yeah, he does. And he comes over telling me, he's like, look at this play that Helgamo made. You know, it's cool.
You're not a bridge book reader, as I
I've
recall.
Zero. Yeah, I've read maybe
Never read a
2.
bridge book.
No, I mean, I read one book that a Romanian guy at my bridge club came up and handed to me, Logical Bridge Play by Kelsey, which was actually really, 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 really helpful. You'd think that I had such a great experience with that book that I might search out more books to read to improve my game, but no, it's not how I've ever learned reading from books. I've always liked learning from experience and talking and going over my boards, those types of things. At least for me, I actually find videos to be a lot easier to process content. Like now, when I'm learning other things besides bridge, I much prefer watching videos to reading books.
Was it like that for you in school?
I had a terrible time reading books in school. Yeah, I really struggled. Now they might call it ADHD, but when I was reading books, my mind was always doing other things. I couldn't sit and really processing words, which is funny because I have extremely visual memory, but for some reason, processing text on paper has always been very, very difficult for me. So I've avoided it. Some of it was probably just effort related. I liked math, so I put my effort in. I hated reading. I didn't understand how to read a book and then give opinions about it. It's just not the way my mind was built. It's funny, as I've aged, I definitely like vocabulary and constructing content, and with introductions and then giving points and then concluding and bringing people back. I now actually really enjoy that process, but in school I just couldn't do it. I was not willing to do it, or willing to try to get better at it for whatever reason.
Do you think that influences you as a teacher? Like that you tend to teach more in a visual or auditory way?
I mean, I don't know. I get good reviews from people about my content, and I really feel like I empathize with my students well. I understand what they might be thinking at a certain point in a lesson, like what might be confusing them, and I bring them back. And I mean, I seem to have a good pulse for it, but I don't know if I'm influenced by my own. I must be, obviously, because yes, how could I not be?
As a teacher, do you see overlap or trends from the students who really progress? You know, like some students, you can see a lot of movement and improvement over time, and some less so. Do you think there's anything that binds those people together?
Age
Age.
would be the biggest one, and uh, quality of bridge that they play, who they're playing with, who they're playing against. Those are big things. There's no amount of work that you can do on your own game that can beat playing competition and being surrounded by people who punish you for your mistakes and do good things against you for you to learn from. Like that to me is the recipe. Like when people ask me how did you get better? How did it was for me, it was I was lucky enough to my mom's bridge club was a really strong bridge club in Toronto. So I would get to play every day, and I would get punished for my mistakes. When I would overbid, I would get doubled. When I would underbid, people would get to game. I would get bad boards. It was not just that process of getting punished for my mistakes. It was also you have to have that skill of being able to look back at your hands afterwards and go and figure out, why did I get a bad board? What did I do wrong? And how could I have done better? Should I have done better, or was it just unreasonable? That's the skill that to me separates the people that will get better and won't. It's the willingness to look back on your boards. If you're playing 14 sessions a week and you're not going over your boards, then it's like you're losing all that. Like everything that happened yesterday is gone. You're not gonna. You have to learn. You have to look at the hands, and there's something to be said for after a hand, looking at a hand record and trying to figure out how you could have made it. Like even just looking at the double dummy and seeing, I'm cold for 11 tricks in this hand. How do I get 11 tricks? And sometimes you can see the 11 tricks off the top, like, oh, there's 11 aces. But sometimes you're like, I can't see it, right? I can't see it. How could I possibly? And just that process of looking at the hand record and going through it over and over, like, I don't see it. What about this? What about this? Until you finally get it, because that's actually transferring the skill. There's two aspects of bridge, right? There's one is drawing inferences and building the picture of your opponent's hands. And the other is then once you know everybody's hand, what to do, right? Those are two separate things, separate skills that both need to be cultivated. But that second skill of like, once you know all four hands, being able to execute the correct line of play to make the most number of tricks is a critical part. And that's the only way to build it, is looking at hand records afterwards and figuring it out. Because if you don't see it at the table, you're not going to see it the next time. You're not going to see it the time after that. You have to see it in order for it to get into your bank. Yeah.
What are the common mistakes that you see people at the like intermediate level that you mostly teach make that the people at the advanced level above them don't?
Overbidding with balanced hands, I would say, is one of the most common mistakes among intermediate players. They compete because of points and not because of shape. That would be my number one. Not doubling enough would be another, which is kind of along the same lines, where you're thinking that we need to declare rather than defend, and that would be a second big difference between intermediates and advanced players. Yeah, I think it's hand evaluation, but also there's such a huge difference between an advanced player and an intermediate player in card play. There are some hands that once you get to advanced, just pretty much all advanced players would get hands right, where intermediate players, it's a struggle. They don't see it. And there's not a shortcut to that, unfortunately, right? There's declare play is the one aspect of the game where you don't just get it one day. It doesn't just pop. It's a process of playing lots of hands and again looking back on it afterwards saying, what could I have done? That's how you get from intermediate to advanced, for sure.
What about between like expert and world class? Like, what do you think it is that separates you and me?
I would say one thing is just the ability to not make mistakes, like not within my level, like within what I'm capable of, to just the concentration of just never ever making a mistake that's under my level. I really think, yeah, it just comes down to consistency. I really do. Like I would wonder if I was sitting next to you and I could hear your thought process while you were playing, how often I would say, well, I'm not thinking like that. I'm not thinking like that. I would imagine that we're probably on a similar wavelength for most of the time. And then it just comes down to either you not finishing the thought, you know, that like, that's a huge thing. It's like, I think that what I'm best at is questioning my best guess. I come to my line of play and is there better? What am I missing? It's like that diligence. But I think part of it is so many hands are easy for me that it lets me do that. Because, and I think that's true on the spectrum of bridge players, is that as certain hands become easier for you, it opens up room for you to spend more energy on things that are going to really make the difference in your game. If you're grinding on second hand low and figuring out which hands to play second hand low, then it's just so hard to keep up with the hand, with what you really need to think about. Like, it's funny, I was just teaching a lesson at somebody's house last week, and there was a defensive problem where at some point the person on the way up to dummy had the ace of hearts and dummy had the king jack fifth of hearts. And when they played a heart up, they popped ace, and it turned out declarer had two hearts. And so had they played low on the way up towards the king jack, declarer was going to have to guess to play between the jack or the king. And what I said to them is, if I was in your chair, I would have seen that king jack in dummy at trick one, and my mind would have been thinking about, should I play second hand low in the heart suit? From the second dummy came down. And all of my processing throughout the whole hand would have been about building a picture of declarer's hand to know whether they have a singleton heart or not, whether I'm going to be safe to play low. Because I can autopilot the rest of the stuff. I don't need to think about what's going on in spades and clubs, because I can see it already that I won't need to know it. And so my mind goes to the problem very, very, very quickly. And I would imagine that the difference between you and me is, to some degree, that I can see the problem before you can, and you're still spending energy on things that I am not spending energy on.
Also, for me, sometimes I think it's an easy hand and it turns out it's not. And I figured that out too late. I mean, when things are presented as a problem, like I was just doing some Bridge Master stuff, and like in Bridge Master, I get them right because I know it's a problem. But when it's just at the table, it's like I would probably just think, oh, this is easy, and half-ass it.
I mean,
right?
Until you get burned. And then how many times do you have to get burned before? And I would say that actually, now that you're just even mentioning that, I would say that because of being a professional early in life, that is another thing. Because I was getting paid. One of my first experiences at a regional was in Gatlinburg. It was the first time I think Vince and I maybe got hired to play in a Gatlinburg regional. We had some pretty erratic results in the first set, and our teammates came up to us afterwards and said, you guys aren't used to playing on professional teams, but you don't need to do everything. You just need to kind of play down the middle, and we're a good team. We're going to win. And that process of being accountable to good teammates really forces you to not go down on easy hands. I think that may have played a role in how rarely I go down in easy hands. Yeah. Or hands that seem like they're easy. I can't look at a hand and say it's easy. I look at the hand when I'm declaring and think, this is my plan. What can go wrong with that plan? That's the only way my mind works. I don't even have that thought. This is an easy hand. The brain skips over that. It's completely analytically looking at okay, what's my line of play? Okay, if I do this, how can that cost me?
And is that consistency something you like actively worked on, or it just came with time?
I definitely did not work on it. I think it just came. I think that's who I am a little bit. I'm incredibly consistent. I don't take a lot of risks. I think it's just who I am. Yeah.
When you're playing with an expert partner versus playing with a client, does that part of it change at all? Do you feel like you have to do a little more when you're playing with a client sometimes?
No. I mean, I've jumped back and forth between playing the two and also just playing high level bridge versus playing at the bridge club, where I kind of had to at some point just learn how to be me always. When I'm playing with clients, I'm not a super active player. I'm not somebody who's trying to steal the board from my partner. I don't know how to do that. And I don't play with people who want me to do that. So I don't like playing bridge like that. I would say the biggest difference between playing with a pro and playing with a client is on defense. If you're playing with a pro, you're signaling more what you have. And when you're playing with a client, you're signaling more what to do. I would say that
they're going to follow your lead.
Yeah, that would be where you're doing a little bit more thinking for the pair on defense. I mean, I honestly, when whether I'm playing with a pro or a client, I make a really solid effort to not make bids that are going to make my partner's life difficult. And I have a pretty good sense for who I'm playing with and what they might find difficult. And in some cases, it's actually much easier to play with a client than playing with a pro. In fact, most times I find it much easier to play with clients than with pros because I can match their thought process. I understand what they're thinking, and I can make it as easy as possible for them. With pros, yeah, it's a little different because who knows what they're thinking about.
What does your preparation for a big tournament look like? Does it change at all?
Not dramatically. Roger and I like to get some boards in right before the nationals just to get used to it. But no, I read my notes, which are not very long, and so I just go through them and read them. We big cubids weekly every week, and no, I don't think we do anything. No dramatic pickup. I used to like try to get myself in shape before the nationals a little bit. Now I just live a life where I'm keeping myself in good shape, so it's not like I adjust anything there.
Yeah, let me ask about that because I know you've had a big lifestyle change in the last couple years. Can you tell us about that?
I mean, I kind of went through a little midlife crisis, or am going through a little midlife crisis, where somebody said to me, you're in your early 40s and you're a little out of shape. He said, but right now you're headed in a slightly bad direction, and that slightly bad direction over the course of the rest of your life is going to end you in a very bad place. He said that like what you need to do right now is just adjust your curve from going up to going down. Make yourself just a little bit healthier on a day-to-day basis instead of a little bit more unhealthy on a day-to-day basis. And if you can do that, you'll live a happy and healthy long end of life. So I dug in, and honestly, I'm a pretty addictive person in everything I do. And when I started to see progress, like I didn't do much. I started eating a little healthier. Like I lost weight by counting my calories, and I just walked a lot every day. And once I started seeing progress, I kind of got addicted to it all and started working harder at it.
So what does it look like these days? What kind of exercise are you doing?
I do a lot. I wake up, I have a routine in the morning. Well, I've discovered that like a lot of my body problems were coming from the way I was living my life. Like I was sitting badly playing BBO on my phone. If you can imagine, I'm like sitting on my couch, like, up, or like have my arm out like this and playing, and my posture was terrible. And so my first thing that I've done is I've made it so that when I'm playing bridge, I actually exercise while I'm playing. So I'll squat and play bridge. I'm taking my worst time of day when I'm doing the most damage to my body, and I'm turning it into my productive time of day where I'm doing positive things for my body, which is something that I would recommend to anybody. Like if you're trying to be good at something, take what you're worst at and make it what you're best at is a really good path to go. Like bridge too. Like if you're a bad defender, focus on defense because that's your biggest place to gain. And so I started, adjusting my lifestyle. I wake up in the morning and I spend maybe a half hour in the morning doing a little mobility routine. And then 3 days a week, I play ice hockey. 3 days a week, I'm doing workouts to strengthen my body. So that's my week, plus all that mobility stuff. So it's a lot. I do a lot. Yeah. But it doesn't feel like a lot because I'm doing it while I'm doing other things.
And does that continue when you're at a bridge tournament?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just so active now. Like I'm at the gym. Bridge tournaments. I'm walking a ton at bridge tournaments. I get a lot of steps. Like in Philadelphia, I stayed at a hotel that was pretty far away from the host, and it was 20-minute walk, and I walked back and forth to my hotel 4 times a day. Like, and I love doing it. I enjoy it. It also mentally helps me unwind.
We'll take some walks together in San Francisco. I like that too. How do you feel it's affected your bridge being healthier and in better shape?
I feel like I'm playing really well. So I don't know. It's hard. I don't like sit and judge myself like that. I would drive myself crazy if I was judging my quality of play all the time. I try my best every tournament. I feel like I do pretty well.
Yeah. But like as the tournament goes along, do you feel a difference in stamina or energy or anything?
No, but I play 1 session a day. I think that would be like which I really like doing. I much prefer playing 1 session a day. I like being done at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and feeling like I don't need to use my mind anymore and I can go and do my thing. So that's kind of more my speed. And so stamina is not my problem. I don't have any issues with stamina.
What do you do then in the afternoon when you're done at 3?
I walk, I do exercise. I sometimes watch my team on ViewGraph. My kids are around. I'm with them, and I just chill out.
Do you drink at all at bridge tournaments?
I'm not a drinker. No, I don't like to drink, period. But I mean, I'll drink socially, but not at bridge tournaments because drinking affects my sleep. To me, the only thing that can affect my bridge is if I don't sleep. So I just pretty much consciously don't drink because my quality of sleep is worse. I'm dehydrated. I wake up, I have to go to the bathroom when I have alcohol. And yeah, I think it's really bad for you. Yeah.
How much do you and Raj go overboards after a session?
I mean, we talk about hands. If we have bad boards, we talk about those. I might compliment him on a couple of hands when he does good stuff. We're not like religiously going overboards at the nationals. That's not the time that we're spending learning. Yeah.
After the tournament, do you do any sort of post-mortem?
Yeah, well, it's pretty hard to do that at the ACBL, but like the trials, we did a full one because we could go back and look at Love Bridge and we could watch every hand. So even if we didn't remember them, we could see what we did. We can even talk about like what we might have been thinking had we if we didn't remember what we were thinking and what should have been thinking about. But the nationals, it's a little bit more difficult. Yeah, unless we were on ViewGraph, it's really hard to go over the boards because like part of the skill of doing well is forgetting the boards. Like you want to forget them. When you're playing high level competition, you can't. You got to have a short memory.
So people who are really working on their game and want to get better, what do you suggest that they do?
It's all experience, playing a lot, like that's it, and questioning what you did. That to me, that's the only way to get better is play a lot and go over your boards. Play a lot, go over your boards. Talk to people who know more than you. Listen to them. You can argue with them in your head, but don't argue with them. Don't ask a good player their opinion and fight back. Just take it in.
Let's say I want to get to your level, which probably isn't possible because I started later than you did. But let's say I want to get closer to it and I don't have a lot of time to travel and like play in a ton of high level tournaments, but I want to do as much work at home on my game as I can.
Can't
What
do
would
it.
you tell me to do?
You
Can't
can't
do
do
it?
it. No. Yeah, you have to be traveling and playing the high level games. That's the only way. You have to be in the room with 12 tables where you don't make a bid and you find out afterwards that everybody else in the room made that bid and you ask each one of them. You go up to Bob Hammond and say, "Bob, why did you bid 5 in this hand?" But you go up to Alfredo Versace. "Alfredo, why did you bid 5 on this hand?" And you hear what they all have to say and then it's in you. It's like that's how you learn. You have to be playing high stakes, high level competition. If you want to get to be at that level, that's the only way. How are you going to shortcut it? You're not going to be able to work your way to beating the best players. You have to be in their room with them, playing against them, and there's no way around it. You can't Q-bids your way. Yeah, that you can use Q-bids to make sure you and your partner don't ever have bidding misunderstandings. That's a huge way to improve your scores and do better. But you're not going to reach the level of play which the level of play to me, I think part of it is definitely the not having misunderstandings. I think that there's a huge edge there. In fact, top pairs, they have a shocking number of misunderstandings. If you go over boards, it is scary how many good pairs have bad boards from not knowing their system because their system's too complicated. So you can make up some of the difference in that. That's a place where but you're not going to be able to beat them on opening leads, which is experience. It's all experience and defense and declare play and high level judgment. Like those things, you can't beat them until you've been put in the spots. There's no way to mimic your opponent's opening 4 hearts on 7-4-1-1 Yarborough, like things that people do to you at high levels. You can't mimic that in another environment. So you have to be in those spots, making the wrong decisions and finding out what others did and digging in. Like to me, that's it. To me, the events that had the most positive impact on my bridge career were the Cavendish. That was the first. Playing in the Cavendish was really Cavendish and the trials. Hands where the boards are pre-duplicated and there's a whole bunch of people that are playing the same boards at the same time, and you especially barometer in the Cavendish, you'd come out from playing 3 boards in the Cavendish in pairs, and you'd have everybody be standing around just hanging out waiting for the next round to start, and everybody played those same 3 hands, and you got to talk to all those experts about what they did and why they did it. You know that feeling when you and your partner have a bad board and you think it's your partner's fault and they think it's your fault or whatever, that emotion. When you can go out of the playing area and find out that there were 17 other tables and they all agreed with your partner, it's really easy to get rid of your ego and take it in and be like, okay, maybe my thought process was flawed there and I need to fix it. And might be a small thing, and that one piece of information isn't going to help you really fix your thought process, but you do that enough times and you're going to have a better thought process and a way to navigate those tough problems that in the end, you're not going to get all those tough problems right. That's another aspect of that. Another place where you can gain on people is not letting bad things affect you, for sure. Those are like the mental game, not having bidding misunderstandings, not letting bad things affect you. Those are 2 places that you can gain edge on the best players, because the best players are not good necessarily at keeping it together after bad boards. There are a lot of top pairs that only do well with momentum. You see them, they go through streaks of doing really well and really badly. It's because when things are going well, it's really easy to play well.
How do you manage to play well when things are going badly?
For starters, I think I have it easy because I'm playing the first half of the match. So the state of the match is not usually that. It's not like I feel like I've lost it for my team, when I have a bad board. I think probably because of all the time I've spent playing with clients that I've had so many bad boards in my life. Keeping damage control and not letting it get out of hand has been like my number one job. So I think I've probably cultivated the skill that way, is that just like after my partner makes a mistake, being able to dig in and just know like, you can't tilt right now because you can't snowball. You can't let this snowball. You can't. That's your whole job, is you're playing with somebody who's entitled to make mistakes. They're paying for your team so that they can make mistakes, and you have to just dig in and play. So I think that probably has helped me. I don't have a problem with it though. Yeah.
How do you help them? Like, you must have students who make a mistake and dwell on it. How do you help them get over it?
Sometimes it's difficult. I've had times where I've had to say something. I've pulled my partner away from the table. I had one in a world championships. I was playing with a partner where they went down in a cold slam in a short match, world championships semifinal or quarterfinal or something, and they felt like such an idiot. They did something so dumb. They knew immediately, like, oh my God, how could I be that stupid? Like, they had that emotion. And I said to them at the table open, I'm like, that hand is over. The only thing you can do now is grind and make it not matter. If it affects you on the next board, that's the mistake. It's not the board before. It's this next hand and the one after that. And I said that at the tables, but I said it probably in a less strong tone, in a more positive way, in a calming way, and they did grind and we won the match. So yeah, I might say something. I might not say something, but I think that's more something you have to prepare for in advance. And I do talk to my partners about that for sure before I go. I'm like, look, we're going to play and we're going to have bad boards. And like I said, the only thing that matters is we don't let one bad board affect the next hand. We're going to have terrible boards because everybody makes mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. You think, and it's a lot of pressure, especially people that the first time they play with a top pro, they're hoping to play really well to impress me. But also when they don't, it's like they start getting on themselves and they're spending quite a lot of money to do it. And that weighs on them too. Like, oh my God, this is my one, I don't have many opportunities at this, like, and I'm wasting it, and I'm spending all this money. I prepare my partners before they start, like by telling them like, I have bad games all the time. People come and they play with me and they get their hopes up and they're really excited and they're expecting to do well. But the reality is, first of all, I have bad games all the time with all of my partners, good and bad. Whether we have a good game today or not is not going to be affected necessarily by how you play. I said, but the most important thing is that you're having fun and that you're not dwelling on those bad boards, because that's what the game is about. Is if you dwell on the bad boards, you're not going to give yourself a chance to play well. And so that pep talk usually gets them calm and playing better.
When someone's new to high level bridge, they hire a team for the Spin Gold for the first time. What are the big adjustments for them? What is it that they're not prepared for?
I don't think that there's some big adjustment. I think that if you're thinking of it as a big adjustment, then that's probably a problem. I think that the game is the game. Bridge is the game. And the stage, it might be more you're playing against better players, right? And you're playing in something more important. But at the end of the day, you just have to play within your level. If there's something that you can't do that other people can do because they're more experienced than you, then whatever. That is what it is. So I don't think that there's some big adjustment to playing in high level. I've never been in the spot to spend a fortune of money on a team, but I can only imagine the level of pressure that they put on themselves when they're spending a lot of money to come and play. And that to me is almost more pressure. Although there's an equal amount of pressure getting paid a lot of money. There's nothing worse than taking a paycheck and getting knocked out on the first day of a nationals. Like, it's a horrible feeling, and I can imagine it's just as horrible of a feeling to write that paycheck. It's that pressure that people put on themselves, especially for like people who come and just do it once. I don't think it's a good thing to just do once. That's one thing is, like, if you're gonna just come and hire a team for a week, you're gonna like get your hopes up, and there's so much variance in the game. It's a crapshoot whether you have a good week or a bad week. We've gone through streaks. Like my team, when I was on the Spectre team, we had 2 years where we didn't lose before the semifinals in any event, and won the trials and went to the world championships twice and won the trials twice. And then the next year we couldn't make it out of the second day of any event, right? Do you think we got way worse year over year? Like, we suddenly got way worse? No, there's variance to bridge. It's just like, that's just the way it works. Or opening leads, where you have two suits to lead from and one of them works and one of them doesn't. And like you're looking at it, and both people in sitting east had the same lead problem. They're both looking at it like, I have no idea whether I'm supposed to lead a diamond or heart, and one of you does one and the other one does the other, and one of them works and the other one doesn't. There's a lot of that. And the shorter the session, the shorter the match, the more those things actually are the things that swing a match. And so all you can do is take percentage actions, do what you think is best, every single hand. The biggest difference between experts and intermediate players is intermediate players will look at the result. Like they led a diamond and they got a 10% board. And they see that if they led a heart, they would have got an 80% board or whatever. They think they did something wrong and it affects their confidence. Experts don't have that problem. I would say that that's the biggest edge of experts. It's like most hands, even when I get bad boards, I feel no regret. I'm like, I would do that again. It's definitely the right thing to do. Who cares? Like, I would definitely do that again. That's the hardest thing in growing as a bridge player, is knowing whether what you've done is right or not at lower levels is very, very difficult. And so that's why you need to talk to people. That's why you need to be playing hands and going over the boards with people around you, because you can't do that yourself. If you're just looking at your results, that's definitely not going to be an indicator of whether what you've done is correct or not. That's a
Right.
big issue. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell people, even if you got a good board, like if you made 140 and all the A players in the game made 110, you probably played it wrong and got lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally true. Or got a favorable opening lead. Yeah, exactly. Like that's
Yeah,
the one
yeah,
thing.
yeah. Or
Yeah.
the opponent did something. Or,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, how do we get more people playing bridge? You have the experience of your kids getting into it, but they had parents who played. Like all the kids I see, like their parents are bridge players, you know? All the people I talked to for this podcast, they started when they were teenagers or younger because their family played bridge.
Well,
That's not a viable model.
yeah, obviously. I believe very strongly that we need to get young people into the game, and there needs to be a system for getting young people into the game. The problem with the way things are right now is there's no infrastructure for them to continue in the game. We've got kids who want to play. There's kids up in Daytona that want to play, and there's kids in Naples, Florida that want to play, but there are no youth tournaments for them to go to play. There's no infrastructure in that way, and there's also no bridge clubs. Not having bridge clubs is an absolute disaster for the game. There's no places where people can go and be social. Not bridge clubs like where 75-year-olds can play at their country club or whatever, retired people. To me, you want to grow the game, you got to get young people. It's got to become a more of a socially accepted thing. That's something that people search out to go and do. I want to be a bridge player. We've survived on a generation of college players in the 60s and 70s for the last 60 years. That's what made bridge thrive. They didn't teach 60-year-olds in 1960. 20-year-olds learned how to play bridge in 1960. Is what needs to happen again. They need to put a ton of effort into getting younger people, 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds. But the only way to do that is by opening bridge clubs that are catered to those people, and possibly bridge clubs that run at a loss just to set it up, like set up some infrastructure where the people can come and meet each other and find out that it's okay, and not even to be competitive, just to be social.
Those people in the college cafeterias in the 60s, they weren't being taught. They didn't pay a teacher. They just sat down and played bridge. And also back then, the game was a lot simpler. And I think we need to simplify how we teach people. If they're just going to sit down and play, they don't
I
need to
mean,
know.
100%. I would say like it's not just needing to know like a million conventions, but also just needing to know all the rules. Like when you come and go and sit at the bridge club and they're calling the director over you not alerting or this or that, like it turns the game into something that's not fun for like some people. Most young people, they just want to play and enjoy themselves. Generation now of 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds, they are desperate for something like bridge, or a place where people can go to be around other people their age and enjoy themselves. People used to go to shopping malls or movie theaters and arcades. They don't have those now. There's no places I mean, not that those particular things, those are good for high school's kids or whatever, but in today's environment, everybody's on their phones all the time. There need to be bridge clubs with organized events for specific ages of people. Like we have college hour where people can come and learn and play cards. It doesn't have to be bridge necessarily, but getting cards to be back on the map. Bridge is a great game. It's a perfect game for them to learn. But I just think having a card club that's in a visible area that specifically markets to and targets younger people and gets them around people their age. You can't do that unless you also have places for them to go once they learn. Run a Tuesday night social for college people. Then there needs to become a college duplicate game on Tuesday nights that people can come, and they regularly come on Tuesday nights. But the idea is you can't just teach them. Teaching them does nothing. Then they learn, and then they've got it in their back of their mind, but then they got nowhere to go to do it. They've got to have a place to go to actually play the game and be social.
Yeah. People need stepping stones. You can't do one thing without showing them what's next. Well, thank you, Gavin. This has been fantastic. Appreciate all you're doing. And yeah, I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Adam.